Welcome back. U.S. Congress is on break right now, but that doesn't mean the work is on hold. Representative Chris Stewart is here from Utah's 2nd Congressional District. We're going to be talking about the big issues of the day. Always glad to have you with us.
Good to be with you. Thank you.
So let's start off with the Iran nuclear deal. It was a big announcement last week. The president made that announcement on Thursday. Subsequently, it made him about 3 hours late here for his visit to the state of Utah. But right now, he's going around celebrating the deal as a good opportunity for the United States and the rest of the world. What do you say about that?
Well, he's one of the few people celebrating. There's deep reservations throughout the world. There's deep reservations throughout Congress in both the Republican and the Democratic side. And he's got a real task ahead of him because there's so much skepticism about whether this is a good deal. And I'd love to elaborate on that if I could.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, look, I would ask these two fundamental questions. And I asked this to Secretary Kerry a few weeks ago. Can you give me a single example, one example of where Iran has worked with the U.S. or with our allies in any positive way for generations? The truth is that they're one of the most destructive influences in the world, and particularly in the Middle East. And the second question I would ask the President and his administration is, how can we trust you on this, given his lack of a successful record throughout this very troubled region as well?
So you're concerned that we put this deal together and Iran doesn't live up to their end of it?
Well, yeah, that's one of the primary concerns, but I'm afraid it's a bad deal in the first place. I almost am afraid the genie's so far out of the bottle, it's hard to get us back. We've walked down this path of we have conceded to them that we will allow them to develop a nuclear weapon. The only question is now is when, whether it's in 10 years or whether it's in 13 years or 6. And I just think that it's really hard for us to walk back from that. Now, let's assume that the agreement is a reasonable agreement, which I don't know that it is. In fact, I don't think it is. But then you have to ask, well, can we trust the Iranians to abide by that agreement? And again, I don't know that we can.
So where do we go from here? Because it's my understanding the president doesn't need approval from Congress. He can still go through with the deal, correct?
Well, that's what he claims, but I don't think that's true at all.
Okay.
I mean, he's claimed all sorts of authority, not only on this issue, but on many issues where he says, I don't need the Congress. That's the kind of the theme of his entire second term here. But no, members of Congress are saying you do need our approval. You do need, for example, congressional approval to lift the sanctions. They were imposed by Congress, not through executive order. And there are a few levers that we have that we hope to be able to push in order to influence the president and the administration's thinking on this, just to make sure that we get a safe deal.
Okay. A very interesting piece of legislation you're working on is known as the Judgment Fund Transparency Act. You've already introduced it. Tell us what that's all about.
Oh, this is a good act. Now, it's not the kind of thing that most people are aware of, but so I appreciate the opportunity to talk about it. In the last 2 years, $10 billion of non-appropriated money. This was money that the Congress didn't appropriate, that was given to various agencies and organizations and environmental groups who, what they do is they sue the federal government. Many times they sue them at a friendly agency. They go into a kind of a backroom deal. They come up with a settlement, and then they get this settlement for suing them. And we have no way of knowing who they are, how much they're being awarded, where the judgments were given. And so this act just simply collects that information so that we can know where this $10 billion is going and who's receiving that money. It's about good government, it's about transparency, and it's not partisan. I don't know how anyone could argue against this.
Okay. And it also has an aspect to it where the public can track where tax money is being spent?
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's the whole point of it, is where is this money going? These are taxpayer dollars, and it's being spent. It's not a small amount of money. Again, it's $10 billion in the last 2 years. We want to know where the money's going.
Okay, so where does the bill stand now, and where does it go from here?
Well, we're working hard to push it through the House. We've got a co-sponsor in the Senate already. Republican senator from Colorado, a friend of mine, Cory Gardner, who's sponsoring it in the Senate. And hopefully we can get it to the president's desk before summer.
Okay, we only have a few seconds left, but I want to ask you about the budget because the House passed the budget.
Yeah.
I believe that will balance in the next 9 to 10 years.
That's right.
How does it get us off of the track we're on now? I think the last hit was over $17 trillion in debt. So what will it do to balance the budget?
Yeah, $18.3 trillion is where we are right now. As you said, it balances by 2023. It's a constant decline in our deficit and our spending. The Senate passed a very similar budget last week. We'll reconcile those two budgets now, and that's a great step forward for American people.
And is it one the president you think can get behind as well?
We'll see. I mean, the president has discouraged many of us. I don't know that he's willing to get behind almost anything that the House and the Senate are trying to do, but we're going to try.
Okay, all right. We'll see how that plays out. And thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Emily?